welcome on the set of LDV MEDIA, our school's TV channel. Today on his show, we'll talk about the Swedish-French student exchange that has been going on for 20 years now, and I am with Miles and Pernilla, and we will learn more about this project.
Okay, so how did this project begin?
So this project began, as Olivia said, 20 years ago, and it was because of a Swedish student called Carl Albin, I think it was. Carl Albin, who went here to Monisroll and did his own exchange year. And they thought that he was a great ambassador and they wanted to keep going with this exchange. So they started in 20 years ago doing this.
So why is it a great opportunity to have this exchange program going between our schools?
I think it's good because it makes our students more worldwide. You learn how to communicate with other people. You learn how to communicate over cultural crossings. And you also learn how to see the world in different ways. Like, even though we are all European and we live in Europe, even if we live in different countries, you're still able to see very many similarities, but also differences on small levels. So I think that is one of the greatest opportunities you can have. For a quite small price for yourself, you're able to spend some time with other youth and other teenagers in different parts of the world.
Now let's hear what the differences Swedish exchange students have noticed this year between our schools.
Okay, so we have been interviewing the Viscolar, and here is the information.
Pupils study 6 obligatory subjects and 3 optional ones. For example, a pupil can study history for 4 hours a week.
In Sweden we have courses that everyone in high schools. Then we have programs with specialty courses and an optional course with a lot to pick from.
Okay, so pupils have a music club that is outside of school hours. But in Sweden we don't have any clubs.
In the Viscolar there are 2 roles. The AED, who calls the parents if a student is late or absent or if they're sick, and the CPE, who calls the parents if a student is late or absent often and talks with the parents about punishments. In Sweden, our mentor calls our parents if we're late, the nurse calls them if we're sick, and the principal calls them if we're absent too often.
In France, they have 8-hour days 4 times a week, and then on Wednesday they have a 4-hour day to compensate. But in Sweden, we have 6-hour days all week. They have 2 hours lunch break, and in Sweden we only have 1 hour roughly every day. Because of religious reasons, they have more bank days in France than in Sweden, but most of them are the same. The classes in France is between 2 hours and 50 minutes, and in Sweden they are between 1 hour and a half and 50 minutes. In France, every 6 weeks of the school year they have 2 weeks of vacation, where in Sweden we have 1. In France they have 8 weeks of summer break, and in Sweden we have a little bit more, we have 9 weeks of summer break. In both Sweden and France it's not okay to smoke on the school ground. I prefer the Swedish schools because I like the longer summer breaks.
I prefer the Swedish school because I prefer shorter days.
What surprised me about the French school is the food.
What surprised me the most was how many bank days they have.
Hi, today we're going to interview 2 pupils from different parts of the world and compare their clothing style. Now we're going to interview a Swedish guy. Hi.
Hey. Hi.
How would you say that the style is amongst the French students?
I think that the French students dress the same, all of them, really. They don't have a personal style or anything like that. They just dress as each other, really.
Now we're going to talk with a French student. Hi.
Mon Dieu.
What do you think about the Swedish clothing style?
Ah oui, the Swedish clothing style. Me personally, I think that the Swedish clothing style is really interesting. They have really different styles, from old money to street to emo style, like everything you want. So they don't really care if anyone gonna see them. They wear anything they want, everything, everywhere they are. And that's really cool, but it's very different from France. Me personally, I don't know, it's interesting for me. And now, je vais manger mon croissant. Au revoir.
That is partly correct, because in France we have a law that's called laïcité. That means that you're not allowed to wear religious symbols in school and in other public areas. And that means that you cannot wear a hijab or a kippah or a large cross or something like that. And that is the main difference between how we dress in Sweden and how we dress in France.
Today we're going to be comparing the differences between pupil-teacher relationships and the use of cell phones between Sweden and France, as well as the uniqueness of LDV Media. Det går bra, det var trevligt. Hur känns det med att vara i Frankrike?
Ja, det känns bra.
France and Sweden have similar rules about phones in school. It's not allowed in some areas, but the biggest difference is that in Sweden they take away the phones during class, which France doesn't do.
LDV Media is something that is very unique here in France. It does not exist in Sweden in any form at all. LDV Media is a tool that students can use to educate others and as well as better their own speaking skills.
Wow, that was great. It was very interesting to hear about the school differences. So today the students have discovered the school, but what is planned for the rest of the exchange in France this week?
Nous allons commencer jeudi matin par la visite privée du stade Geoffroy-Guichard, puis le passage au musée de l'ASS Saint-Étienne. Ensuite, nous allons rejoindre à pied une salle pour se restaurer à midi et aller au musée de la mine l'après-midi, visite également. Et terminer par le chocolat Weiss au Puy, à Saint-Étienne. Ensuite, le lendemain, le vendredi, c'est une journée au Roi de l'Oiseau, au Puy. Une journée Renaissance qui commencera le matin par une visite historique avec Laetitia Bourgeois-Cornu, professeure de médiéval, et elle nous fera un petit passage du puits original. Un peu de géologie pour voir une cheminée de volcan unique au monde. Et l'après-midi, on sera au Roi de l'Oiseau également, quartier libre. Et les étudiants suédois et français ont peut-être pensé à des costumes qui sont en train de finir. Voilà. Et le samedi, dimanche, quartier libre dans les familles. Avant de revenir lundi matin pour un départ.
Okay then, thank you for coming and thank you for watching. See you soon on LDV Media.